now listening to Red Planet Podcasts. Here are your hosts, Richie Vargas and Christopher Saavedra. What is going on, guys? Welcome to the first edition of Red Planet Podcasts. My name is Richie.
And my name is Christopher.
And yeah, today we are starting up our podcast. We have toyed around with this idea for many years. I think we tried it once or twice a long time ago on Google Hangouts. Yeah, and it just did not work at all.
Technology wasn't as advanced as it is now, so we tried to improvise, and it just didn't fit.
Yeah, it didn't roll. It wasn't smooth sailing. That was back in like 2012, 2013. We didn't have diddly squad
jobs.
I mean, we did, but we made no money, or we just spent it all on video games. Yeah.
Right.
So, anyways, I figured that we would discuss something that we had a lot of experiences with in our childhood, and some of which we have experienced together. And that is the paranormal. That's the ghost, the spooky stuff.
The spooky.
So I don't know where you would want to start. I know you've had experiences way before, you and I really started like hanging out, like before you moved to Connecticut.
Somewhat. I remember. I guess I guess we'll just start with like my very first ever paranormal experience. When I was like about, I want to say maybe 8. We were living in New York in Westchester, a town called Mamaroneck, and this is before me and Richie kind of started hanging out a lot. Before we both moved to Connecticut, I was a little kid. Like I said, I was 8, and I had 2 cousins over my house, Anthony and Matthew. They were just sleeping over, and I remember very faintly, but there was an experience with that I was experiencing weird dreams, and as an 8-year-old, you don't really know what these dreams mean, and you're just kind of freaked out, stuff like that. So there was this one time, like I said, 2 of my cousins were at my place. They were crashing the night, and it was me, my brother, and my 2 cousins, and my mom was showing us this weird photo. It was like a picture, and in the picture there was 2. It was very weird. It was like 2 different colored clothing on people. One side of the clothing had straight black, like everyone was dressed in black, and then the opposite side, everyone was dressed in white. And in the middle of the photo, this is a real photo, by the way. It's not like a magazine. It was like a picture. So in the middle, it was this like weird lady, and it was a shadow. And I remember I looked at this picture, and I just cannot get this weird, creepy ass girl out of my head. Like it was like if this picture was cursed. And that was just like the very first, I guess, terrifying experience. It wasn't really like paranormal in the sense of like ghost affirmations and shit like that, but that was just like my very first spook, I guess. It turns out later on that this photo, the reason I brought up the photo was with the clothing is because the people that were dressed in black apparently had died right after the photo was taken, and the people that were dressed in white were still alive. That's essentially the backstory of what was being said about the photo. Now, I don't know how serious or real this is.
How factual it was.
Yeah, like my mom could have been just fucking with me, like I'm a little ass shit, like that was being bad, and like my mom just could have been trying to scold me and just try to like get me to do the right things, and not, try to scare me to stay in the right track and like not do stupid shit. But that was like my very first scare with this picture. It was a really creepy picture, I'm not gonna lie. Like the shadow was very creepy, and the way that the picture was taken with the people separated in the middle, with the shadow being in the middle and the 2 colored clothing separation. Like it kind of freaked me out, and I just kept seeing, like I said, like this weird girl. I remember I was crying hysterically. My cousins tried to calm me down. Like it was just this big deal for everybody. Leading up to the next event, so the picture and this girl face thing was essentially like what started the epidemic of Mamaroneck's haunting, I guess. So a couple of weeks, I remember after that, or maybe it was a month or so after that, me and my brother were sharing rooms, and my brother had moved to another room in the house, and I remember waking up in the middle of the night, and when I woke up, for some fucking weird reason, I got up and I started stretching. Like I was just stretching. This wasn't a dream. Like I remember like actually waking up. And I look down the hall and I see this person. This person was dressed, well not dressed. It looked like a person wrapped in a blanket. And I was just like saying, Angel, Angel, are you alright? Like that's my brother's name, guys. I just kept saying like, "Yo, Angel, are you okay? Like, you alright?" Like, again, I'm like this little 8-year-old, and he had his head down, and he was just down the hall. He was just down the hall, and he just had his head down, and I just kept asking if he was okay, and I got no response, nothing. Then about maybe 2 minutes of me asking if he was okay, he had looked up. When he had looked up, his eyes were glowing red, like just really bright red. And I just remember screaming, and I went under my bed, and I was terrified. Took my blankets, I went under my bed, and I cried until the morning. And then my mom found me under my bed, and she asked me what happened. Those were the two major experiences living in Mamaroneck that I just remembered. And then leading up to Connecticut, where a lot more things were taking place. But those were like the two first experiences before I even linked up with Richie and started hanging out with my cousin and stuff like that. It was really traumatic for me as a kid because, as a child you don't really know what the fuck what all this shit is. Like you're just chilling, and then you experience this weird stuff, and you're just kind of left there like questioning what the fuck is going on with the world,
Right.
As a little 8-year-old, like you just don't know what's real, what's not. But yeah, those were like my very two first, I guess, paranormal stories. I know the picture was kind of long and it wasn't really like a paranormal story, but it was just like leading up to like maybe that house was just haunted. I don't fucking know.
Right.
But it was just a mess of things going on in that house. Yeah. Then moved on to Connecticut maybe like a year or two later. No, it was like about 2 to 3 years later because I was about 10 when I went to Connecticut. 10 or 11.
I forgot all about that story. I remember you told me that story about seeing your brother or whatever, and then it actually wasn't him. When you started telling that story, I was like, "Oh shoot, yeah, I remember he told me that back in the day." But
oh yeah. By the way, guys, I asked my brother in the morning, and it was not him. I don't know what in the fuck that was, but it was very, very, very creepy. But yeah, it wasn't him.
Who knows? But it was funny that you mentioned how like it spawned sort of like, I guess, well, not spawned hauntings in Mamaroneck or whatever, but I just Googled like Mamaroneck, New York hauntings, and I found like an article just now about like top haunted areas in like the Westchester area. Obviously, a lot of people know about Buckout Road in White Plains, New York. I've been there.
Yes.
I've been there. I went with a friend of mine, I think a year or two back. And it was very interesting. It was an interesting place. But there's a place called Three Lakes area in Lewisboro. Ghostly moans and crying have eerily echoed throughout this area ever since the July 1937 incident, in which a mother and son drowned in Lake Osceola. Recent trips on a psychic, however, indicate that the drowning was a deliberate act of murder by the family's patriarch. Again, there was Buckout Road. This one-way road is the ground zero of terror, which now is a two-way road. At least when I went on there, unless that person was supposed to be driving the opposite way, but that's a different story for a different time. From flesh-eating albino clans and witch covens to cannibalistic serial killer Albert Fish, there's a reason Buckout Road has been listed as one of the 4 spookiest roads in the world. There's another road, I think it's in New Jersey, called Clinton Road or something like that. Apparently there's like cults, like KKK clan members, like serial killers, like all these types of people that like go there and dump bodies. It's all crazy stuff. But I don't really get into that right now. What I will get into, however, is I forgot to mention that obviously this podcast will be available on YouTube. We set it up with Anchor. I think Anchor distributes the podcast on multiple sites. It should be available on like the Apple Podcast app. Might be even available on TuneIn, Stitcher, maybe Spotify. I'm not sure, but I know pretty much for the most part it's going to be on YouTube, definitely. This will be like an every Sunday thing, hopefully. But anyways, to steer this back on track, I actually asked a friend of mine earlier when I was at work on break. I'll leave her name anonymous just in case, but I asked her, I was like, hey, do you happen to like believe in like the paranormal? I was like, have you ever like had any like experiences or whatever? And she went like super Hispanic. She's like, oh, like I don't like all that stuff, blah blah blah, like I'm such a chicken, you know. So I managed to like fish some information out of her or whatever, and I think she is 21, or she's turning 21. 25 going on 26, so like there's a bit of an age difference. But I'm mentioning that just to preface what I'm about to say. So I think last year, unfortunately, her mother passed away from reasons I don't know, nor do I want to ask, you know? So rest in peace to her for sure.
Yeah.
But when she was living in the house with her mother or whatever, she, you know, it was just them two. Her parents, unfortunately, were divorced. So mother passed. She kept the house for a little while, and she would always feel like this heavy sort of feeling whenever she'd be alone. She's alone in the house, essentially. So she told me how she would go and shower. Yeah. So she would tell me how when she would go and shower, like, she'd leave the shower curtain open, and sometimes she'd just be screaming. She's like... And I kind of made it like a little bit funny, and like I mimicked to myself like with the bar of soap just cleaning my arm, and I'm like, get away from me. And she was like, no, seriously, like that's how I would be. Like she would be screaming while she's showering, and she started laughing because she was like, I probably look like an idiot or whatever, but she would just be like, leave me alone, like stop bothering me, you know. And I was like,
that's crazy.
Yeah, I was like, usually I will shower like in a bathtub with like the curtain closed. I'm like, okay, I'm protected now. It's like when you're a kid and you put the blankets over your head and you're like, okay, the ghost can't get me. I'm protected.
Yeah.
And she was like, no, because if it's not open, then you can't see what's coming for you. And I was like, shoot, you know what? I never thought of it that way, you know?
But what if you do see what's coming for you?
Yeah, so who knows? You know, you can't see the El Demonio coming for you.
Damn,
But yeah, she told me that or whatever, and then she told me about how she, I think, was at her cousin's house or something like that, or her dad's house. No, her sister-in-law. My apologies. And she was at her house, sleepover, blah blah blah, whatever. And she had this really weird dream where she was being like choked by some like black entity or whatever, and in her dream she woke up and she saw that she had choke marks on her neck. And then in her dream she went back to sleep, and the dream continued where she's being choked. So it kept happening back and forth in the dream. So it was like Inception almost, you know, a dream within a dream.
That's fucking nuts.
And then, you know, she woke up, blah blah blah, whatever, and she started telling one of her cousins about the dream. He had the same dream the same night,
the fuck?
where he was dreaming about himself in a dream being choked by some black entity, and they were both describing the same thing. And she was like, literally, like, I swear, like, on everything I love. I was like, that's so weird. I was telling her,
that's the creepy.
it's very, very much so. And I was telling her how recently, like when I was in the middle of moving, we moved a little bit upstate in Connecticut. But when we were still, getting some stuff here and there from the house, I had went over to the old house one day after work, just to pick up a couple of miscellaneous items and everything like that. And when I went in the house, like I just had this heavy feeling, kind of like what I mentioned just a couple of minutes ago about my friend in her house by herself. So I just had like the phone flashlight on the entire time. I had the lights off in the house. And before I went inside, no, I went inside first and then I came back outside. And when I went to my car, I grabbed my prayer beads that I leave like on my rear view mirror in my car. And I put it around my neck. I was like, I'm going back inside this house with these prayer beads on. I'm going to have God watch over me, you know?
Yeah.
So I go inside. I'm trying to get as much as I can. But it was just like there were eyes everywhere looking at me. And I've never really felt that in that house before. It was just odd. I didn't say anything. I didn't say leave me alone. I didn't say I'm leaving. Goodbye. Nothing. I didn't address it because I was like, if there is something in here, I do not want it to follow me to my new house. So I grabbed whatever I could. It was very brief. I went back to my car and I hit up my mom and I was like, hey, look, I tried to get whatever I could, or whatever you wanted me to, but I can't. There was some straight up evil in the house. I don't know what it was. Bad juju, bad vibes, bad energy. I was not vibing with it at all. So I just dipped. And then when I went back another day, like, I didn't feel anything. It was gone. But it was just weird, you know?
So originally you walked in and felt a strange presence.
Yeah. It just felt like as soon as I closed the door behind me, and there wasn't even like a foot of space between my back and the door, it was like someone was behind me like the entire time, just looking, like, you know, just when you feel like,
whoa,
yeah, like somebody's staring at you, and then like everywhere you go, it just feels like you're being watched, you know?
Yeah.
I thought I heard like a couple of sounds in the house, but it could be, you know, just creaky floorboards and whatnot, and who knows.
Or pipes.
Right. So I didn't really pay mind to that. It was just like that negative energy feeling. Before we get into like the crazy juicy stuff that you and I have been through, one of the other things, I have a couple of things that I've experienced with like friends of mine. You know, Alex, of course. So I have no problem mentioning his name because he's been on our channels a couple of times. But anyways, there was one time we went to this abandoned house that was sitting at the top of this hill at a park. You know the name of you know the place. I'm drawing a blank on the name, unfortunately. But
are you talking about the one that was down the street?
Yeah, the one that we filmed our film at.
Wasn't it something
Pomerantz? Thank you. Yes.
Pomerantz.
Pomerantz Park.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And there was this giant like mansion. That
we
was
actually filmed the movie.
Yeah.
we filmed a fan. I wasn't even a fan.
Yeah, it was just an original thing. Yeah, we filmed it in 2 days.
Yeah. Me, you, and Tiffany. That was fun.
Honestly, I gotta say,
like. But anyways, yeah, keep going.
Just to put ourselves over a little bit, the three of us. Well, initially the two of us. So the two of us in 2 days to make that. I feel like.
Yeah, don't give her credit.
Don't get it twisted. You ain't getting no credit, girl. But between the two of us in those 2 days, I have to say that was some pretty good work.
Yeah, we really sat and made a horror film. It took like maybe a month to create it, and we made a budget and an actual production to do it. I think we would demolish.
I think so too, because I don't know. I watch it and like, even though it's kind of campy or corny or whatever, it's still fun. I don't know. I thought it was really good.
It was super fun.
Yeah.
It was extremely fun.
Yeah.
And it was extremely creative and on the spot. To this day, sometimes my friends will hit me up and tell me about that part where I'm running in the end and I'm breathing all crazy.
Uh-huh.
They were like, why were you so extra? And I was like, bro, you got to think about it in the sense of like, if this shit was really happening, you're not going to just run. Like, you're going to hyperventilate and
exactly
can't breathe and shit like that. But I think we're getting a little off track. But yeah, it's just funny that Pomerantz was actually it was a dope spot we used to go to just for exploring purposes.
Right, right.
And I heard a lot of stories about that place too. But I've never been inside it.
Being inside of it was quite the experience. It was a really, not a really big house, but like, it was a big house. Especially for when it was built at the time. I don't really remember the specifics, but it was up there for quite a while. I think
Yeah.
it might have been like a relative, like of a town official. I think the person who lived there was like a writer. Again, I don't really remember the specifics. I'd have to look into it, but
It was just so out of the
yeah,
way. Nothing was around.
right.
Like
It was a
besides
sitting
that lake
right. It was a sitting there across. There's actually a house, like if you keep going straight down or whatever. So
across the
like across the
Alvarez
lake,
house.
across the lake.
Oh, across the lake.
Yeah, like when you're walking towards like the building or whatever, there's like a couple of like public bathrooms to your left, and then if you keep going straight down that
Yeah.
paved road, there's a house at like the end of a cul-de-sac. So maybe they
It's just such a
oversee.
weird spot.
Yeah. Um, so I think the person died, and they were trying to figure out what they were gonna do with that piece of land or the property, and like it was just abandoned there for years. Obviously now, unfortunately, like they knocked it down, which is sad. But it was because a lot of teenagers were just breaking in there and smoking pot and tagging up the place.
Yeah.
So like when we went in there, a lot of the stuff was dilapidated. Of course, like it looked like Silent Hill. The walls were chipped and everything. There was this, doors and window frames and pieces of wood just, all over the floor and
Just
everything.
junk all over the place.
Right. So it was just interesting nonetheless. So it was me, Alex, his ex girlfriend at the time, and his ex girlfriend's ex best friend. A lot of exes. None of mine because I didn't have any, but it's okay. So yeah, I just buried myself. But
It's just roast.
exactly, it's no big deal. You're gonna have fun. So we decided to sit in like I guess it could be a dining room area, because it seemed like it was once wooden sort of walls and maybe like a chandelier was probably in the middle of the room. Who knows? So we all just sat in the room in the dark, and it was like broad daylight, middle of the summer, whatever. So I'm sitting on one opposite end of the wall. The girl is on the other side to my left. Alex and his girlfriend are to the front of me on the opposite side of the room on the other wall. So we're all pretty spread out.
Okay.
The
Yeah.
room was ice cold in the middle of the summer. Ice cold in the middle of the summer. So already like
And
at that like
there's no ventilation.
yeah, no ventilation
There's
at
no
all.
installation or nothing.
Right.
It's
Exactly. Right.
That's weird.
And like even like the upstairs rooms were pretty cool, and all the windows were like broken in and everything like that. Like they weren't shut, they weren't boarded or anything.
Was
They
there a basement?
yeah, there was a basement. Very hard to kind of scurry around and everything like that. The worst room was like the kitchen. That was a disaster. But anyways, we're all sitting in this room, and it's cold. We're all kind of just like keeping quiet, see if we hear anything. The only thing we did hear was like kids trying to come in at the time, but we scared them away, which was actually funny. But veering back on track, I'm sitting there and I completely forgot, or maybe I just didn't notice where everybody decided to sit because it was dark. And I was like, Alex, get your hand off me. And then he's like, what are you talking about? But he's on the opposite side of the room, and I was like, who are you with? And then his ex was like, oh, I'm over here. And then I was like, oh, where's so-and-so? She's like, I'm over here. And I'm like, so then who's touching my shoulder, This is really weird. So then we were like, okay, time to go. So we just left.
Somebody was touching your shoulder.
Yeah, it was really weird.
Holy shit.
Then there was another time, maybe like a year or two before they finally knocked it down, which I think was like a year ago. It was me, Alex, and another friend, and we decided to go there maybe like 12 at midnight.
Oh shit.
Yeah. As soon as we got in, I felt those same like negative vibes that I felt when I went into that house in that story that I just mentioned. And I actually started to cry.
What the fuck?
Like I felt like really
Made you
emotional
cry?
and just like drained. I'm like, guys, like I feel so drained and just depressed. You know, they were bugging out. They're like, "What's wrong with you?" I'm like, "I don't know." You know,
That's crazy.
out of all like the experiences I've had, I've never felt like that. You know, um, we barely made it in up until the point where we reached like those bathrooms and everything like that on that paved road. And down that paved road, and whatever bit of moonlight that I was able to make out our path through the trees, because it's so dense in there during the summer, was this
Yeah.
really tall black figure just standing at the end of the road. And
Holy shit.
I'm like, guys, we gotta go. They're like, what? I'm like, we have to go now. They didn't even turn around. They just started booking it, and so did I. So we're running, and as I turn around, it's like already halfway. It was like standing where we were just at, where I told them that we have to go, and then like it kind
Are
of
you
just
serious?
faded. Yeah, and we ran out of there. They were like, "Oh, what did you see?" And I told them what I saw, and then right as I was telling them what I saw, Alex had turned around to look at like the entrance of the place, and it was like this ghostly lady figure dressed in white, and it looked like she was trying to invite us back in or whatever. Like she didn't look like she was unwelcoming or anything like that, but it was almost like a look of concern. Like she wanted us to come back in there, and then she just sort of
This
just
is what Alex said himself.
yeah, and then like she sort of just like disappeared or whatever from like this black figure. Like before I even really made out the details, so then he was like, "Oh, was it this, that, whatever?" And I was like, "Yeah." So before I got to preface
Nah.
them like the information, like he had told me what I saw. This is very weird stuff.
Fuck that.
Yeah, yeah. So it was
Nah,
yeah,
that's creepy.
yeah. I mean, I tried going back there again with a friend of mine, Alan.
Oh, you brave.
Yeah, yeah, because I had told him what happened. He's like, "Oh, we gotta go," and I was like, "Okay, Alan, look at you," you know. Um, and then we went in there, and then we ended up just taking photos of like the night sky because like it actually looked really beautiful, and we were at like the top of the house, and by then it was gone. We didn't feel any bad juju or anything like that. You know, we were just two dudes having fun. So
Strange how the the source of energy of like the paranormal stuff, like when they pick and choose to like expose
manifest.
themselves.
Right, right,
It's
exactly.
it's very
Right.
very interesting.
Like
Random.
you know when you watch all those ghost hunting shows, whatever, they're like, oh, you know, if this certain device like starts, you know, being drained of its battery, it's a ghost trying to manifest itself, you know.
Yeah,
And you
yeah,
know, I guess to an extent, that can be true because like certain times people get depressed or angry, you know, or
right.
you know, certain things just start acting wonky, you know. That's what they say about like orbs and
Right.
stuff like that. Like it's whatever entity
Yeah,
trying
the
to
orbs,
use up
yeah.
all of its energy and just like make its presence known.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
and then there's certain like things as to why necessarily we can't hear like ghosts or whatever trying to speak to us, but like an EMF detector, or an what the heck is it? Uh, you know those stupid little like ghost recording devices, whatever. I don't. I think it's an EMF detector. I forget. Um,
yeah. I know what you're talking about.
you know they're able to pick up like the voices and stuff like that.
Right.
But then you got to remember too, like a lot of those shows are sensationalized as well. Um, like I used to think Ghost Hunters was boring, but the fact that like they debunked a lot of their things made them very credible. You know,
Right.
like you watch Ghost Adventures with Zach Baggins, and there's always something going on in every episode. Or someone's getting possessed, or you know something crazy's popping off. You know what I mean? And not to discredit them or anything like that, because who knows? But I remember hearing an instance in one of the Ghost Hunter episodes where literally nothing was happening, and it was like an executive or like a producer from Sci-Fi that was like, "Guys, this is really whack. Like, let's just pretend something." And then one of like the investigators is like, "Nah, like I don't want to." Making like not genuine, and then like he talked them into
Right.
it, and then they didn't, but he wasn't really happy about it. So there's always that, but I mean that's not to detest the fact that there aren't,
It's like, hey guys, we gotta pretend.
exactly.
there's a demon here.
Right, because we're not getting any evidence. But, like, it's not to detract from the fact that there are things out there, because there are, you know?
Yeah.
But you're just not always going to find it,
Right.
Especially when you go looking or whatever.
Correct. Do
One.
you remember
Mhm.
the time when fuck, I'm trying to remember the story, but you were living in
Was I, like, up the street from you when you first moved to Connecticut?
nah, this was
We were next door?
no, what was the one that you lived in? Hella Bar,
What, North Street?
North Street. Yeah, remember the story about the kid at the park?
I was about to get into that, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, didn't we see? I don't remember, but didn't we see a kid running
I don't remember.
with like no arm or some shit? And then there was a story that he like died in the swamp, like he was a baseball player. I don't know, some crazy shit like that.
Right, yeah, it's a little, like, community center park thingy. Small little field. There's, like, a small little baseball diamond or whatever. I don't remember if you were with Alex and I, or if it was just he and I. Basically, somebody had told him that there was, like, a kid that had drowned in some, like, little lake, pond, swamp, marsh thingy that's in the back of it.
Yeah,
While he was, like, trying to ride his
and I
bike to
remember
there.
it was pretty long, but it wasn't big.
Right, yeah.
It would go. I remember because when we used to walk through the streets back then, I remember just seeing like that swamp was always like around, like it was just always like it followed the street, so it was a very long,
Right,
lakey swamp thing.
right.
But I didn't think it was deep enough to kill someone.
I have no idea. Unless it was a little kid. I don't know. His bike got stuck or I don't know. Something.
Yeah. Sorry.
But yeah, we heard the story, whatever, and then we ended up going like super late at night.
I think I was with you.
We were doing like a sleepover or whatever, and when we went to the place, we're just kind of just chilling there, and then we just see these white pair of legs in what looked like a baseball uniform just run across the field. It was just from like the waist down.
Why does this sound so familiar? Like I feel like I was with you.
Right. I mean, maybe we just told the story 1,000 times, but we saw it run across the field, and we were like, "Yo, like, did you?" And we were
No,
like, "Yeah."
I was definitely with you because I remember there was something with the flagpole.
Yeah, when we were leaving, and then Alex or someone turned around, and there was like a figure standing at the flagpole, and by the flagpole at the end of it was like this not a flashlight, but like a light. So it would illuminate like the bottom of the flagpole, and you can kind of see like the American flag at the top of it, and then like it just shut off. And then we were standing in the middle of the street because we were trying to run back home, and then something ran out in front of us. We were stuck in the middle of the street because we didn't know what the heck that sound was, but it was just like running, and I was thoroughly convinced that it was the kid, like running across, like, because you know how sometimes, like, say if like you hit a baseball out of field and you have to go and catch it, or if you're playing catch and like it bounces in the middle of the street or something like that or whatever.
Yeah.
So I don't think it was an animal because I didn't see anything solid pass by us.
And little homie wanted to play baseball.
Right, exactly. He's like, "You guys want to play catch?" But
that's crazy. Maybe I wasn't. Maybe I just heard the story so many times.
Like the footsteps were heavy enough to it sounded human. So we stayed there for like 15 minutes trying to figure out what to do at like 12 o'clock and midnight. 12 o'clock at midnight. It's the same thing.
12 o'clock at midnight. Remember that house that was behind the grocery store back there?
I wanted to go in there. I wish we got in there. Yeah.
We actually filmed another. That was our first ever project that we did.
Yeah.
It was a Slenderman project, and we
did nothing.
It had nothing to do with Slenderman.
Yep. I think we had an idea, and then it just went nowhere. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it was fun though. It was creepy, but
it was for sure.
I had fun editing that one. We
Yeah.
both did two different edits. Mine
And
was
yours got
weird.
more than mine, and I got a little bit salty at the time.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why. I just
I think because you knew more people and like you shared it on Facebook.
maybe, I don't know. Fuck
Yeah.
it. Who cares?
But
Fuck everybody.
that house was dope. It was a little tiny house, like just hidden in the woods behind
Yeah,
a
it
shopping
was literally
complex.
hidden from things. Yeah,
And there was like a big hole in the roof, like an asteroid like crashed through it. I really
Yeah.
wanted to go in there.
but everything was so locked up so well.
Yeah. I don't know how we would have been able to get in there, but
We couldn't. We would have had to literally break in. Like
yeah,
break
we would have
something
needed
to
like
get in.
bolt cutters to like break the
Whereas
chain.
in a lot of other abandoned spots already have been broken into.
Yeah, I think it was just because it was so hidden and like it's close by to like housings or the houses and
Yeah.
like that grocery store, so it's
There's
like
not a whole lot of people back there. So
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
no one cares
right.
to go in there.
So yeah, eventually like we made it back home. We had to wait till like the street light went back on at the end of the block, and we just sprinted. And then when we got there, it went off, and like we just ran back all the way home. So there was
Yeah,
that.
I think you just told me this story.
Yeah. So there was that. I think there was something else that I wanted to mention, but we can go into some of the juicy things that you and I have experienced together. The one that stands out to me the
Oh,
most.
boy.
The one that stands out to me the most, and I think you know.
There's a couple that's out.
Remember when we were eating cereal in your kitchen?
Oh my god, bro! I knew you were gonna mention this one.
Oh my god. That was
This was probably
the worst experience of my life. The
me
worst
try to think.
bowl of cereal I've ever
I'm
had.
gonna compare. Yo,
I like
it was
honestly,
pretty terrifying.
I think that was the scariest thing I've ever been through.
No, it was definitely because the one that happened to me at Booth Court, that was something I would never forget, and I'll get into that one a little later. But the one that happened,
I was mildly upset that I wasn't there for that.
no, that one was terrifying.
Oh, of
That
course.
one was.
That was when you woke me up at like 4 o'clock. Well, you came to
Yeah,
my house at 4
yeah.
o'clock. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
My
The
sister
whole
and I
thing
were
was-
in my room watching
Um,
TV, and
The one that happened in Hollywood, that one was. I don't know which one was scarier, but they were both extremely terrifying experiences. I guess I'll get into this one,
Mhm.
and I'll lead it into the booth court. That way, people can hear what I'm talking about.
Mhm.
And then before I get into the booth court, I'll let you like say your piece on it because since we're both there, it's definitely worth
both
both
sides.
inputs.
Yeah.
So I was living in this duplex house with my mom and my brother and my baby sister, and my cousin Richie lived like right up the street. Literally, it was like maybe a 5-minute walk, not even.
Yeah.
And we used to sleep over each other's houses all the time. And Richie had slept over my house, and my brother had slept over his house, and he slept over with his sister, and they were playing games, and me and Richie played our games and stuff like that. So we wake up in the morning, and well, there's a little bit of a backstory to it too, I guess. Couple months before that, me and my cousins, Anthony and Matthew again, and Angel, we were all up late one night, and I had a pool table downstairs, and we heard the pool table go off, like if somebody shot
A ball.
the ball, yeah, and was playing pool, and it's like 2 a.m., 2 or 3 a.m., and we were like, what the fuck was that? So all four of us go down, me and my brother, Anthony and Matthew, go down the stairs, and we go and check out the pool table, and the pool table had not been touched. And all of a sudden we hear it again. And then when we heard it, we all fucking dipped and went upstairs. It turned out that it was just the ice maker.
Right.
The ice maker was making ice, but it was so loud and it just sounded like a pool table.
Right.
And you know, we laughed about it. We moved on from the situation. Now, a couple months later, whatever, me and Richie had a sleepover that morning. We're eating cereal in my kitchen. It's me and my mom, my baby sister, and Richie. We're eating cereal.
I think she was no more than 2 at the time.
And my mom, you said what?
I think she was no more than 2 years old at the time. Your sister.
Oh yeah, Helen Grace. Yeah, my baby sister. She was like a baby. She was a toddler, and she was even still on a chair.
Yeah.
Like
the high chair
what's
thing.
that called? The high chair, yeah. And my mom just starts fucking with us, like trying to be scary and shit. Like I don't even remember exactly what she was saying, but she was just being fucking stupid and like pretending. I think she was making fun of us for the pool table experience, and she was saying like, "Oh yeah, they thought it was haunted, blah blah blah." This and that, and like she was just like making fun of us, like saying like, "Oh, this is all haunted," and blah blah blah. And I think the night before, we heard something, and we brought it up in the morning. I think it was like a basketball or something, right? Or,
Yeah, you and I think we were playing Dragon Ball Z Budokai, and we were going to go to sleep, and then we
Yeah.
heard like a basketball dribbling, and we went to investigate the closets, and there wasn't anything there.
Yes. Okay.
And then was at the same time we heard like a
That
child
was
laugh.
the night before. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Now I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. And then
So
we
we
just
brought
were
it up in the morning.
Yeah.
My mom kind of just brushed it off, and she was just saying, "No, it's you guys like being scary and shit like that. Like you guys, you know, over exaggerating about the pool table, and then
Right.
it was the ice maker, blah blah blah." So my mom didn't take us serious. All of a sudden, and I kid you not, so my apartment or the house that we were living in, it was literally designed. The top floor was like resembled as the bottom floor, I guess. Like I don't know how to explain it, but right
like-
upstairs.
Yeah, like right above us was your mom's room where the kitchen
right.
was.
So where the kitchen was, right above the kitchen, it was my mother's room, and then where the pool table was, right above that was my room, and then where the living room was, right above that was my brother's room. So we were in the kitchen. So above that was my mom's room, and we literally just heard what sounded like somebody running as fucking fast as they can and as loud as they can from my mom's room all the way down the stairs to like maybe outside or something. I don't know, but it was extremely loud, or vice versa. It could have been something running from downstairs all the way up to my mom's room.
Right.
It was just something significantly loud, and me, my mom, Helen Grace, my little sister, and Richie all got shook.
Except your brother.
My brother was there, so that little fuck got
I thought he
away.
was.
But, no, he was at your house. He slept over with Angie.
Oh,
and
that's
It
right.
was that time.
That's
We were-
right.
Yeah, they
Yes.
were playing Smash Bros.
We would do like dual
Like,
sleepovers. Yeah.
Yeah, and then we, for some reason, we just traded off instead of all having to afford
Mhm.
some sleepover. But yeah, so what ended up happening was me and Richie instantly started crying. Well, not crying, but we were scared as shit.
Oh, yeah.
And Grace was crying. My mom was shaking, literally shaking.
Yeah.
And she was like, "What the fuck was that?" And I was like, we were quiet. My mom had a broom, and we walked from the kitchen, and we had to go check up the whole house. My mom is walking, not even fucking, like I'm talking about inches, and we were terrified. Me and Richie and Helen Grace were behind my mom. I think my mom was holding my sister. If not, I was holding my sister, or maybe Richie. I'm not sure, but my mom was definitely holding a broomstick a broom. We're going up the stairs, and again, I kid you not, it was like a movie. Like my mom was walking so slow, and all the doors were closed.
And it was dark towards the end
It
of the
was dark as
hallway.
hell, but this is the morning. Like it
Right.
was bright and early morning, but it was dark. So we go up the stairs. My mom is shaking going up the stairs. She's terrified, and we finally get up the stairs, and she's the whole time she's like, "Who's here? Who's here?" Like screaming. She was like, "Get out my house! Get out my house! Who the hell's here?" Blah blah blah. But she's scared. And again, it's dark. It's the middle of the day, and all the doors were closed, which is really odd for the middle of the day. Like none of the doors are ever closed in my house, unless I'm in it. So my mom starts opening doors. She opens my brother's room door first, and she is so scared with the broomstick. She opens the door. She starts swinging the broomstick, and we didn't notice until later. But she was making crosses on all the doors, and I think it was just out of fear that she was doing it, and she was like slamming like the broomstick to the floor and then across, um, just making these air crosses or whatever. And then from my brother's room, she's still screaming through the whole way, and she's just saying, "Get out my house! Get out my house! Whatever's here, get out my house! You're not welcome!" All that type of stuff. And me and Richie were just scared. We were scared shitless. And then we go to my room, same thing. She slams the door open and she's saying, "Get the fuck out my house! Get out my house!" And she's just slamming the broomstick up and down, then left to right. And then we walk all the way down to the bathroom, same thing. And then her room, same thing. Nothing was there, nothing. And we go back downstairs, and me, Richie, and my mom and Helen Grace. Helen Grace was crying. I remember that, and like we were just so scared. Like we didn't know what the fuck that was, and we left. We didn't eat. We didn't finish the cereal. We barely got dressed. We left, and we went to Richie's house, which was right up the street. And my mom, broke down and told Richie's mom what happened, and she felt bad because she was making fun of us and all this stuff. And more or less, that's kind of what happened. But I cannot tell you how terrifying that experience was, because going up those stairs, it was just like it felt almost like we were walking into hell. Like it was extremely difficult. And then me and Richie are trying to support my mom because my mom is scared. It's one thing when you're experiencing something alone, right? The fact that my mom could not go upstairs by herself, and she had to take two kids that were what 10 and 11, or 11 and 12, something like that. Like just these little kids, and we were like shook. And I just remember like that feeling of just dark, very very dark energy, very terrifying energy that you only walk inches at a time, and you're scared, and you're slamming doors open, and it's almost like if you think there's gonna be like a animal in this room or something. My mom's just swinging at this room, and then later on we noticed that it was like crosses that she was making. I don't know why. She's not religious like that, but I think naturally she was so scared that she just made them. That's kind of from my perspective on what happened at that day. I'll let Richie tell you his perspective now.
I mean, it was pretty much everything the same. Like everything that you mentioned is pretty much how I remember it. I don't remember your mom opening up her room door, but I do remember as you got towards like the middle toward the end of the hallway where her room was at, that's where it was the most dark. But yeah, like when, like you said, all the doors were closed for some reason, which don't remember closing them at all. When she like pushed open the doors and was just swinging the broom just in case there was something or someone in there. She realized it afterwards when she was mentioning the story to my mother when we got to my house, that she realized she unintentionally made like the sign of the cross on every single door.
Yeah.
Whether that was intentional or not, I just think that there was a bit of irony in the fact that she did it anyways, that gesture. I think had she had not done so, who knows what could have happened. But again, we can theorize here for days,
Well, to be completely honest with you, I think whatever was in that house followed us to the next house,
Right,
and I'll get into why after your thoughts.
right. And I firmly believe you, because a lot of crazy stuff happened in the following house too, which we were neighbors this time. Like we were in like a couple minute walk away. Like we were next door.
Right.
Like I remember the Picto Chat days of Nintendo DS where we'd sit out the windows and just,
Oh shit!
connect.
I remember.
Yep. That was our aim back in the day. That was our iMessage,
Yeah, and those I remember just sitting in the kitchen trying to get his attention.
Yeah.
Like, hey, Picto Chat.
That was our Snapchat.
Yeah.
But just to steer back on track a little bit. That was my first paranormal experience ever. I think I was fifth grade going into sixth at the time. So yeah, like you said, maybe like 10, 11, 11, 12, around that age demographic. But that was my first ever like paranormal thing, at least that I can remember, because I can't really remember or recall.
I want to say that's like my second. That was like my second or third, because the first two I feel like counted as one. When I was a kid, which was the picture, the thing that I said leading up to all this.
And then the thing with your brother.
That was definitely the third, I guess, or second.
Right.
It's because it was the second house. But
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, a lot of crazy things. And I know, when you guys moved out of that house, and I think it was my mom and your mom, and they were closing the door or whatever, they heard like something running to the door, and then like she closed it or whatever. So it was almost like mimicking that sound, like the cereal day, like the cereal story we just told.
Yeah. And there was a couple months later, well, maybe a year. Maybe or something.
Right.
Not only that, I remember my mom saying she had dreams with my grandmother that died from my father's side, and she was in a bag. And she was covered in blood, but she was in a black bag. She was standing on top of the staircase. She would always tell us.
That's weird.
That meant it's extremely scary, but yeah, I just remember the section that we lived at in Greenwich. Those two sections, Hollywood and Booth Court, were both Indian burial grounds, I think.
Supposedly, yeah.
Supposedly, that's the story. There's a lot of places in Greenwich, Connecticut that have those.
Just Connecticut in general. Yeah.
Connecticut in general, yeah.
Right. I mean, look at who we had live here. Ed and Lorraine Warren lived in Connecticut. You know what I mean? And I mean, they traveled, to, investigate stories and everything. But yeah.
Whatever negative shit they brought here, that shit roams the earth,
I know Lorraine Warren just passed away like a month or two ago. May she rest in peace. I wonder what they're gonna do with that house. I'm sure it's gonna stay there. I wonder if they're gonna have it like as a tourist attraction. But
I wonder if that. Yeah, damn.
I would love to visit that house just to see.
Fuck that. There's a museum out here apparently that I have a friend who wants me to go. Where my friend Sydney, she was telling me about it a couple of days ago. Zach from Ghost Adventures or whatever. He
Zach
has a
Baggins?
museum out here.
Oh.
That has all his collected haunted shit, and apparently you have to sign a waiver that you can't sue him once you go inside, and if anything follows you, type shit. And apparently there's a backstory where there's a doll, and this guy was making fun of the doll, like, "Oh, you're so scary, mocking the doll," and apparently like 10 minutes after that, when he drove home, he got in a car accident and died.
Wow.
Don't know how true that is. I never Googled it. I didn't think to do that, but it's true.
There's actually a an interviewer from, I think it was Entertainment Weekly or Entertainment Tonight or something like that. One of those entertainment shows that they give on primetime TV. And they did like a 20-minute uncut tour of like that house. I'll have to send it to you so I know exactly what you're talking about. But it also could be, Zach Baggins just making profit.
And Warrens or for Zach?
Zach Baggins
Okay.
museum thingy. They did like a tour or whatever. I'll have to send it to you. But yeah, I mean, oh man, like I want to. We have so many things, but like I don't want to make this too long because we're already approaching our 55 minutes. I mean, I don't really care, but I know we just have so many.
Shit, I know where this is at too.
You just looked it up.
Yeah, this is not even far from me at all. I didn't know this was his. I
Yeah,
always see this sign that says Haunted Museum, and I never just took it serious because it looks so cheesy. But
right.
apparently, this shit is creepy.
Who knows?
Anyways, yeah. I mean, I'm game if you want to keep going.
We got stories for days. I know you want to touch on that other subject at the other house, because the serial story was a bit of a prelude to whatever happened in there
Yeah,
when we were neighbors.
neighbors. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I experienced anything with you in that house. I think it was pretty much all on your own, with you guys, you and your family, or
Yeah.
whatever. I mean, I would
Yeah.
see things, and especially that one night in particular when you guys were standing out in my driveway at 4 o'clock in the
I'm
morning.
pretty sure we scared the shit out of you too, being just out there, fucking four of us.
I mean, it was just my sister and I in my room. We were watching Adult Swim, just like Robot Chicken, all those other programs and stuff. And you just knocked on my screen on my window on the side of like my house. And me and my sister
Yeah.
jumped like out of our skin. We were like, "What was that?" And I was like, "I don't know." And like I checked, and no, I didn't get to check. You started calling my name. You're like, Richie, Richie, and I'm like,
Yeah.
what? So I finally opened up, and it was you. And then you told me that like some stuff was popping off, and your mom, your brother,
Yo.
and his girlfriend were all just congregated, like huddled up together. It just looked like one big person, and your sister was like right in front of them too. Like y'all were just shook. And then you didn't get into specifics at the time. You were just like, yo, like something's happening in our house, like can you wake your parents up and like let them in. No, I didn't want to.
Yo, bro, I'm sorry. We just,
Yeah,
was nothing.
I know. I was
That
like,
should've done.
what do I do? And I was asking my sister, I was like, do I wake them up? And she was like, oh, they're gonna get mad. And I was like, yeah, I don't know. I know, like,
I was literally begging my cousin to open the fucking.
I told your
at, like,
mom
2,
to
3 a.m.
give my mom a call, and then like she picked up, and then that's how we let you guys in. And then like we literally broke night. Like morning came, we didn't sleep.
I could not sleep.
We didn't sleep at all.
We didn't go to school. We didn't do anything.
It was summer.
Because I think I still had school.
Did you have summer school?
Maybe no. Wait. Maybe it was not me. Maybe it was my mom that needed to wake up early.
Probably
I
for
just
work.
remember that we had to wake up early for some shit, and she said that we didn't have to wake up early for whatever reason, and she had to go to work like that, whatever. But yeah, no, that house was quite an experience.
It was a nice house too. I mean, all the houses we were in were nice.
I feel like the nicer one was definitely Hollywood, but that place was terrifying. But the nicest house was probably Sheep Hill. But
Yeah.
not many stuff happened at Sheep Hill.
No.
Thank God.
Yeah. I think that was pretty much like where everything stopped. But
Everything stopped at Booth Court.
Yeah. Didn't your mom think your brother was possessed at one point too? Like during that,
Well, the story.
he was just acting
I'll tell you
weird.
real quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was yeah. I'm trying to remember the beginning of the story, but the gist of everything was apparently I brought a person back with me when I went to. It's gonna sound real cheesy, but apparently your mom and dad were getting married around this time.
Yeah.
and it was a couple months before their wedding. Their wedding, and I had brought. I slept over, and for the sake of privacy, I'm not gonna get into who, but I slept over somebody's house for a couple days. They gave me some gifts. It was a pair of shoes, a pair of pants, and a shirt, and I think it was a hat. Um, and when I came back, apparently I had a bad attitude. I was this nasty kid, and I was just bouncing my mom. I was a piece of shit kid or whatever. Um, and I had these clothings or whatever. I had an aunt who was invited to the wedding, who was staying with my mom, and then she ended up staying with Richie's mom for a little bit, and she supposedly sees things or whatever. So she told my mom that I brought a person back with me because of the gift that I got. Shoes symbolize the feet, the pants symbolize the legs, shirt symbolizes the chest, and the hat symbolizes the head. And then fucking after that, I was acting weird and strange. Apparently, I was just this tough kid, blah blah blah. And then they sat me down one night because I was being so disruptive, and my aunt had to talk to me, the one that sees the ghost, and pretty much confirm or confront me, I should say, with everybody around. I remember just it was Richie's dad, Richie's mom, my mom, Richie, my brother, Angie, like everyone was just telling me like how much of a dick I've been or whatever, and I was just like, "What are you guys talking about?" And then my mom was like, "Yo, not to scare you, but apparently there's something latched to you." And then Michelle, my cousin, my mom's cousin, she's the one who ended up telling me and explaining to me that there was
Right.
something following me
Right.
that was attached to me.
Okay. I remember that.
So she did some shit to me, whatever, to clear it, whatever. But she didn't clear it. What ended up happening was later on, a couple days later, I was sleeping in my room, and she went through the house, my mom's house and stuff, and she said that it multiplied somehow. And in my room, there was three spirits. So it went from one to fucking three. Um, and I asked her, how do they look? Like, what do you see? And all she said was, all she sees is this black entity, like a black shadow in a sense, and it had eyes and then teeth. But nothing else. Like it's just this black shadow. It had eyes and teeth. Like that was the face, just the eyes and teeth, and then the black shadows. So it's like levitating eyes in a sense. So she saw six eyes, apparently. So that displays six three people.
What did she see Cthulhu?
I don't fucking know.
That ghost was slamming some cheeks that he multiplied.
Shit, bro. I don't know, man. But that's the beginning of all of it. And then everything kind of stopped because I was aware. I started trying to act different. I started trying to beat it, whatever, blah blah blah.
Right.
I got through it.
Which is good because you're
Right.
trying to come out on
Right.
top.
I didn't feed into this. And this is a few years later. I was like 15.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe like 13, 14, 15 around that era.
I don't think I was 13. I think I want to say I was like 15 at least.
Either
14,
way, we
15.
had gone through some things at that point, so at least we were experienced. You
Right.
more.
Yeah. So I was a little bit more older, more able to understand. I didn't take it too serious. I was scared, obviously, but I didn't take it too serious. I was that naive, and I just tried to change my ways or whatever. Because I was like, all right, well, y'all think I'm being a dick, I'll try not to be.
Right.
Whatever. So there was one day I got extremely sick. I was sick to I was vomiting. And
I think I remember.
Super, super sick, rushing to the bathroom, throwing up.
Mm-hmm.
When I was sick, I hallucinate. Like just super sick. I had a high fever. Right when I got through that sickness, apparently, my brother woke up in the middle of the night and went to my mom's room and was scared. Now my brother doesn't really talk. Like he's not an
He's not emotional.
person. Yeah, he's not an emotional person. So when something's bothering him, he kind of holds it inside. So the fact that he went to my mom and told her what was going on meant that it was something serious. So at this same time, so I'm getting through being sick, I'm sleeping, resting, whatever. My mom has this dream that, and this is the same time. This is all happening at the same time, which is very strange. My mom is having this dream that something was hovering over her to get to my sister, and it was suffocating her, and my mom couldn't move. Like my mom's stuck, and then whatever it was on top of my mom and pushing her chest down. And my mom woke up, but she couldn't fucking move, and she ended up waking up, and pushing it off of her. And my brother comes in the room, and she was like, "What the fuck? What happened? What's going on?" Blah blah blah. My brother was like, "There was an eye on my TV, like an eyeball." And my mom was like, "What do you mean?" He was like, come on, there's a fucking eye in my room." And now they're talking extremely loud. I'm waking up because I'm sick. Well, I'm just finishing getting sick. So I get up and I go see what's up. My brother tells me, so apparently him and his girl were, trying to do the nasty stuff, trying to get into it, whatever. And they looked over, and in the middle of his TV, there was just this really big red eye, like a really big, just in the center of his TV was just a red eye, and it was looking right at him, and looking at them, I should say. Sarah, my brother's girlfriend, freaked out, fucking ran. She saw it too, and she just ran out the house, and she was like, "I'll talk to you later," blah blah blah, just whatever. She got home safe, luckily, thank God. And then the eye on the TV wasn't there anymore. But what was starting to happen was the TV would turn on. I mean, my brother would turn the TV on, but it would turn off by itself, and the remote was nowhere near him. So that was another thing that kept happening. So then I, gradually make my way over and see what's up because they're making so much noise. And my brother's standing by the door. I'm standing by the door, and my mom's standing by the door. And it's like everybody is scared to go in. My sister's still asleep, and everybody's scared to go in. I'm like, "What the fuck is going on, guys? What are we doing?" And my brother's like, "Yo, watch." And he shows me. He turns the TV on the TV. The remote is on his bed. Not even maybe 5 minutes go by. The TV completely turns off by itself. And I'm like, "Whoa, what the fuck?" He's like, "Yo, there's something on my bed." And my mom is like, "I don't know what to do." And I'm looking.
Was it like an imprint on the mattress? Like
yeah, I that's what I was gonna get into. Like
oh my
didn't
god.
notice it at first. Like I just didn't see it. And my brother and my mom were so scared to get in the room, and I just didn't know what the fuck was going on. And my brother was like, "There's something on my bed." So then I look on the bed, and all you see is if you take your hand and you start going down vertically, right? Not horizontally. This is horizontal. If you go down horizontally, whatever, and then you make a dip, that's how it was on the bed.
Right, there was
So
a
it was
depression in the blankets on the in the mattress, right?
and the remote was sitting literally right next to that imprint on the
Wow.
bed. So my brother tries to be a tough guy and was like, "Yo, I don't give a fuck. This is my room. This shit's not scaring me." And he goes and lays on top of his bed.
Oh my
And then
goodness.
he starts acting strange and whatever. And he starts saying, "Get out, get out, get out my room, get out my room." And this nigga's the one who came and got us. So my mom was like, "No, come on, get off the bed. Like, get off the bed." The imprint left, obviously, because my brother went and lays on top of it. My brother instantly caught a headache. He was like, I have a headache. I'm fucking tired. Like, it's all right. I'm good. I'm just going to go to sleep. Bruh. Just heard a knock. Okay, so whatever. I'm not no kid. I'm a grown ass man. I'm not gonna get
Slamming
but
ghost
anyways,
chicks.
right. So what ended up happening was my brother instantly caught a headache. He got nauseous, tired, and whatever. And then he kicked us out. Before he kicked us out, my mom put a Bible on top of the TV. Um, on one of the verses, I don't remember what it was, but she just put the Bible, opened the book, or whatever, and left. Right.
Mm-hmm.
The very next day, um, I wake up, everything's cool, whatever. Later, the next night, I should say, Sarah comes back over. My brother was like, "Yo, yesterday was fucking weird." I was like, "Yo, what happened?" And he starts telling me everything because he didn't really tell me everything the day, like about the eye. He didn't tell me. My mom didn't tell me about her dream. Like nothing was really
Right.
said besides the print or whatever. So I started watching South Park to try to like make me feel better about the night, whatever. And I ended up falling back asleep, whatever. Cool. Next day, I said again. That night comes. Sarah comes back over, and she starts telling me about her perspective on what happened. And she told me the same exact story before. This is literally right when she walked in. So we were upstairs. Again, this is the very next night. We were upstairs in the same room, and something started pinching my brother's feet. Something was pinching his feet in the back of his foot, and then Sarah starts crying. Somehow like this whole energy just felt really heavy in the house, and this was around the same time. It felt heavy in the house, and then again, my brother was sitting down. He was like, "Yo, something's pinching my feet. Something's pinching my feet." He was just sitting on the bed, and under the bed it was like if something was under it and just pinching his feet. Um, so then we rushed downstairs. And we're like, "Yo, what the fuck? Whatever, blah blah blah." So then this is where shit gets really fucking crazy. Um, we're downstairs and we're quiet. The house is completely quiet. No one wants to talk, and it just feels heavy as fuck. No one wants to sleep. No one wants to talk. Um, we're just all scared. And my brother was like, "Yo, you hear that?" And I was like, "Hear what?" And then I started paying attention, started listening, and all you hear is this weird tracking noise, like shh, 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 shh. Like if someone is just like dragging their feet like on the carpet. It's just like shh, 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 shh. Like it was very weird, and it came from upstairs. So my brother's like, "Yo, you hear that? You hear that?" And I was like, "Yo, what the fuck is that?" And it would not stop, and it went like maybe 2 hours went by where no one was talking, and everyone was just quiet in the and downstairs, and we were just looking at each other, listening to this, waiting for it to stop. It didn't stop. Whatever it was upstairs just wanted to walk in whatever. So we were just downstairs, and my brother was just finally like, "Yo, fuck this, I'm going to sleep again. I want to be a tough guy." So he goes up the stairs, he goes back into the room. The As soon as he got up the stairs, the whatever, that shit stopped, which was creepy. So my mom was like, "Angel, are you okay? Like, you alright?" Put him downstairs, and she didn't want him to go upstairs alone, but he, being the man, whatever. And he said, "I'm fine, I'm good, whatever." Then out of nowhere, I was sitting across from Sarah on the sofa. Sarah was sitting across from me. My brother was upstairs, and my mom was sitting across from me. So it's an L couch. So I'm in the middle of the L pretty much. My mom, Sarah, and my brother both hear in our ears. In our ears. Um, that was the scariest shit ever. My brother ran down this, like me and Sarah and my mom just all like our eyes just like got huge, and we just looked at each other like, what the fuck was that? And then my brother runs down the stairs as fast as he can. He was like, you heard that? Yo, what the fuck? I just heard that. Yo, I heard something in my ear breathing. And then, like, my Sarah starts crying, my mom starts crying, everyone's crying. We run outside the fucking house. Everyone starts tripping. So we run out the house. When we get out the house, we're running, we literally got forced out the house. Like, it was so scary. Um, that was my neighbor's story. So
Yeah, I
we got
heard
out
that
the
too.
house. You heard that?
Yeah, that like
Oh,
knock.
okay, yeah,
Yeah,
that's my neighbor's
yeah.
stairs. Yeah, it's just bad fucking timing. So yeah, we run out the house. As Richie said earlier, he was my next door neighbor. So then I go. It's like 3 in the morning, 2 in the morning, something like that. I don't remember, but it's late, and we didn't know what to do. And I was like, "Yo, I'm just gonna knock on Richie's window." So I start tapping on the window, and I'm like, Richie. Like I try to get him to fucking come and open. I was like, I know you're up, nigga. I see your light. Like, okay. And then he finally comes and he was just like, yo, what the fuck? And then, I'm like, yo, some shit's going on. Yo, can you open the door? Can you let us in? I was like, yo, let us in. Like, and he didn't know what the fuck was going on. That's why I said I feel bad because I probably scared the shit out of him in the middle of the night. Like, he told us, like, just call my mom, wake up my mom. Richie was, didn't want to wake up his mom, scared. Then Richie noticed all of us huddled up by his garbage cans in the front, and he was like, okay, what the fuck is going on? About 5 minutes later, my aunt opens up the door for us, and, everyone just freaked out. But before we went inside the house, when we were standing in the garbage cans, or when we were leaving the house going towards Richie's house, um, we look upstairs where my brother's room was, and we see a man standing in
The
the
window.
room, just looking at us from the room. And he had an Undertaker hat. I don't know what those hats are called, but he looked like
Looked like an outlaw, like a cowboy. It was just
yeah,
this
like
long looking hat, like a Red Dead
just a
Redemption
long.
look
We
to
couldn't
him.
see his eye.
Yeah,
It was just like he was looking down towards us,
just a
and
black
he was
figure.
just. He was all black. His face was pale as fuck, and he just smiled and he was just looking at us. It looked, bro, I get goosebumps. I'm not even kidding. Like it was the scariest. Tell my aunt, whatever. The thing just we didn't give it attention. We looked and we just ran. Like I was just like, I'm not looking at this motherfucker. Fuck that. Like I was scared. Everyone was scared. We left all the lights on in the house. We didn't go back to turn them off. Nothing. We just left. The fact that we had to leave the house like that was pretty significant. Even when we were living in Hollywood, we got to turn everything off, lock all the doors, and shit like that. This time we just left. We left in the middle of the night. Just left. We were so scared. So then, and this brings us to the next day. This is a 3-day thing.
It's funny because like
Really
that
long
day
story.
when you guys came, like like I mentioned earlier, we broke night into the morning. Not even like my family
Yeah.
slept or anything like that. When it
Yeah, we
came
did.
down to nighttime, I remember like we walked to like the church up the street to get like holy water, and I know your
Yes.
brother, like we all noticed your brother was acting significantly different. He was just being really
Yeah.
rude.
He had an attitude.
Right.
Yeah.
And when we got back to your
So it's like it's the
house,
thing.
right,
It's almost like that thing that I brought was a latch to me and used me, and then saw a stronger entity now. Because my brother is older than me.
right.
He's more
It latched
wise.
onto you. It saw a
So
different vessel that it can move on to,
yes,
and
that it was stronger and wanting to be on. So it went to my brother, I guess, and it affected him worse
right,
than it affected me.
right, and like later on down, like during the day or whatever, when it turned into night rather, um, when we were going back to your house after the church or whatever, when we were coming down the hill, coming back from the church, when we got the holy water or whatever, I didn't get to go into the house or whatever. My mom was like,
Yeah,
no,
there
like, I
was
don't want you to blah, blah,
also
blah. And when I looked up, I saw that thing that you were talking about the person with the hat standing in your brother's window. And, like, he had the closet light on or, like, the room light on. So, like, you can see the silhouette of the person standing in the window. And, like you said,
right.
you left all the lights on. Like, nobody went until, like, night after we came back from the church to get the holy water. So I saw
Yeah,
that, and I remember
yeah,
seeing that. But then, yeah, again, continue. I
yeah.
didn't mean to cut you off. I just wanted to give my
No,
perspective
you're
on it
good.
because I saw that too.
You're yeah. That shit was something I would never forget. Um, the next day morning, it was kind of bad. My mom had to go to work, and your mom had to go to work, um, and we just slept during the day, which is fucking weird for kids. So then we go back. They get out of work. We make a plan to go get whatever we need to get from the house and bring it to the church. Dip holy water, like Richie said, and get holy water to whatever. The church was about what, a mile from the house or something like that, like
Not even.
maybe half a mile.
Yeah.
Yeah, like maybe a half a mile. It wasn't it was down the street, but it wasn't like around the corner. Like it was like a 10-minute walk, 10-15 minute walk. So overall, it took like 30 minutes to get there and back. Sarah had this bracelet, and she thought that it was a curse from a friend that or someone who thought was a friend to her that started hating on her and treating her bad. So she brought the bracelet with her and left it in the church. We walk back, and this is where shit gets crazy. My aunt put she switched the verse in the Bible on the TV. At this point, everyone knows what happened, all the details and stuff. Kind of everything I told you guys. So my aunt changed the verse on the TV, the Bible that's on the TV. She changed the verse or whatever, and when we get back, the book I think was closed. The Bible was closed, and again it felt extremely heavy. Richie and Angie went into their house. My brother and his girlfriend stayed outside to smoke a cigarette. Me, my mom, my sister, Richie's dad, and my aunt all go inside the house. The three of them, my mom, my aunt, and my sister, go upstairs. I'm downstairs by myself. So all I hear, well, I start going. I'm the last one to make its way upstairs. I just didn't want to be by myself downstairs. All the lights are on, so I start going up the stairs. Midway up the stairs, my aunt said, "Like you gotta be kidding me! Why is this closed or whatever?" And I think she was talking about the Bible that was on top of the TV. So then I'm like about halfway up the stairs. When I reach the top of the staircase, I felt energy, something just passed through me. Literally, like time froze. Everything stopped. Everything stopped. It was weird. It was just like a moment that felt like an eternity. It was just so weird. And then I snapped out of it, and I fell down the stairs a little bit. I didn't fall all the way down, luckily, but I
You stumbled.
tripped on some steps. I stumbled, right. When I stumbled, there was now a lock. I mean, not the lock. When I stumbled and fell, my aunt was like, "Hello, what's going on? What's going on?" And she comes and she rushes to me, and there was whatever passed me was trying to open the door, and it was just like this rumble in the door, like just like this rumble on the door. Something was trying to open the door, and then my aunt said she gets downstairs, and when she got into the downstairs part of the house, the door's wide open, and then my aunt was like, "Hello," and then right when she said that, the door slammed closed in her face, and symbolizing what we think whatever it was that was in the house ran out the house. Um, yeah, that was probably the worst thing that ever happened to me.
Right, because
As
it
far as when
passed
the
through
stuff
you.
goes. Yeah, it literally felt like it went through my body and took my spirit for a second.
Right,
And
like it
then
sucked your
came
energy.
back to life. It was
Right.
so fucking weird.
Right.
After that, Butchie ended up moving, and then we ended up moving somewhere else. Nothing else happened after that. That was like the last kind of paranormal thing that really happened to me.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was pretty crazy.
Yeah. I want to say that's pretty much when everything like died down, as far as like, you know, the other stories that I told earlier of us like going on explorations, like me, my friends and whatnot, and seeing all those random different things, you know. That's pretty much the end of like our personal, I guess, paranormal experiences of like things happening like in our circle or to us and everything like that. Very interesting nonetheless. You know, I know some people aren't into any of that stuff, and a lot of people enjoy hearing stories, as do I. And like, you know, looking back on it, obviously, yeah, that stuff is scary, but at the same time too, like there is still that level of intrigue for me. I don't know, I just find it fascinating as to why do at least evil entities choose to keep manifesting themselves even after they're expired. You know what I mean? Like, you've already had your chance. Why are you still clinging on to something that once was? And, you know, that statement can go with a whole bunch of things, but even like life after death, you're just using your residual energy to terrorize people. It's like, why are you doing that? Of course, I'll never get those answers, obviously, because you can't contact the dead. Unless you're into Ouija boards like that. I don't believe in that stuff. I remember being with two friends and like she had one, but it was like one of those fake like Milton Bradley ones you buy at like Toys R Us, the like glow in the dark. And like she tried using it and like we knew that she was like messing with us or whatever. And then I know there's like, you know, demons and stuff that they say you're not supposed to like conjure up. Like there's some like demon called Zozo that like people conjure up on like the Ouija board and stuff like that. But not to veer off track too much. I don't know. It just intrigues me. Obviously, you know, you want to stay away from like the negative side of it. You know, you don't want to conjure up any demons. But I don't think it's necessarily wrong to, you know, want to look for that stuff. You know what I mean? As long as it's not bad or whatever. Because,
right.
You know, we've had our fair share of bad, and like we've had our fair share of things that go bump in the night, and it's not too bad. It's just interesting. You're like, whoa, like that's crazy. I can't believe that happened, you know? So, right. I don't know. I was just giving it a lot of thought and stuff like that, and I'm like, man, it would be kind of interesting to go down memory lane with Chris and just kind of reminisce on that. And there were some things that I learned today that I never heard before.
Right,
so that was like interesting to like hear, you know, but hopefully we didn't get too personal or too spooky. But I don't know, I feel like it was an interesting way to kind of break the ice on the podcast. So I don't know,
it definitely is. It definitely brings I kind of feel I don't know how you feel right now, but I kind of feel not heavy, but I feel like holy shit, like I can't believe I overcame all those things and all those experiences, and now like I keep feeling like I'm hearing shit. I got headphones in, and I'm like, you know, what the fuck? And I just keep thinking, I'm like, wait, no, let me stop. My neighbors, they just fucking loud as shit. I'm downstairs. There's a staircase right outside my door, so it's like that usually takes a lot of moves.
Right. There's still like that.
I keep now overthinking, like, oh, back is back.
Exactly.
So it's not. It's
right.
Just,
we just spooked ourselves.
This is an experience.
Yeah.
Right.
But again, with this podcast, like, I mean, being the fact that like it's going to be on the gaming channel, I don't want it to just be necessarily gaming, you know, centric. I mean, obviously, we'll talk about like big things that might happen, whether they're movies or games or Probably not really anything like newsworthy, like politics or anything like that, because I could really care less, to be honest. And you don't really get too controversial. But
Right.
I don't know. I feel like it would be like a cool little outlet for us to just discuss anything, And
Right. And then, guys, also don't. I mean, guys, also feel free to let us know what you guys want us to talk more about.
Absolutely.
As Richie said, we probably will post this every Sunday or something like that, so you guys can hear more personal stuff. We stream and stuff like that, but we don't get too personal.
Right.
And we don't get too invested into like our experiences and stuff like that. Obviously, like our goal is to build a community with you guys, and we, including you guys, and we hear you guys. We try to deliver what you guys want us to do and stuff like that. On Discord and stuff like that, we always talk about. I always ask like, "Hey guys, what do you guys want me to stream?" And you guys let me know, and whether it's 2 people letting me know or 100 people, it doesn't really matter at this point. Like, we just want to connect and build with everybody. So if you guys have topics that you guys would like us to talk about too, like if it's wrestling or if it's gaming or if it's movies or more paranormal stuff, or we want to get into movies, horror movies, whatever it is, like we're open to talking and having a discussion around everyone's comfortability and all that stuff.
Definitely. I second exactly what you said. I would love to do maybe not so much a part 2, but maybe like a spin-off where we talk about like aliens or certain creatures that people believe in, like Loch Ness Monster or like all those other things, or just extraterrestrial or conspiracy theories and all those other things. Like, I feel like that would be fun too. Definitely, like you said, wrestling, of course, because we're 2 big, massive marks.
Not so much anymore for me, but
yeah,
I try to.
same here. But again, different topic for another time. We can go on for days.
Absolutely.
Movies, gaming, relationships, freaking cars. I don't care. I think it'll be really fun. So,
right.
Yeah, and then who knows? Maybe even later on down the line, we can, not necessarily get guests per se, but just other, friends or whatever on the show, and just right, and just shoot the breeze. But yeah, anyways, like I mentioned earlier, and like you just reiterated, this should be a weekly thing. Hopefully, this is a pilot. We'll try and get this out every Sunday. Whether it garners a huge response or not, I think it'll still be cool anyways to put on the channel regardless. And I'm doing this through Anchor.com, where you can set up, free podcasts and everything like that. And this is not a sponsorship plug by any means, but it should be broadcasting on TuneIn, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, whatever other things, maybe Spotify.
This is live right now?
What's that?
For like Anchor, is it live or no?
No. Yeah. Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Sorry. I should have known that before asking.
It's all Gucci, brah. But either way, like, it's gonna be on YouTube and whatever other areas that it's gonna be uploaded to. I will make sure to drop the links in the description box down below. Also, in the description box down below, you will find our Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, any social media that you can follow either myself or Chris or any of our brand social media accounts if you wish to do so. There's also a little Streamlabs donation link if you want to give us some of your pocket change. It's not mandatory, it's just there for shiggles. And yeah, exactly. We're very poor, we're very broke. Chris needs money, I need money.
Yes, we do.
I want to move out, I want to get married, I want to do a lot of things, and we need your money.
What shit?
Yeah, totally kidding. But again, our Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, little Streamlabs donation link, the other links to where you can find this podcast, if you want to listen to it on the go or whatever, medium that you listen to your podcast, whatever links that are important will be in the description box. Again, like Chris mentioned earlier, just to reiterate, if you guys want us to talk about a certain thing, let us know in the comments. Like this video, share it wherever, or share the podcast wherever. We just hit 1,000 subscribers. It's really cool, and we have a new series coming out entitled RPW, which is going to be Red Planet Wrestling. It's a brainchild of mine, and Chris, we got to definitely talk about that because I would love to involve you, and I know a friend of mine wants to be really involved in it too, and I have ideas for it for days.
Brother.
I've got ideas for days.
Cut a promo right now.
Oh yeah, brother. But yeah, that's pretty much it, man. This was fun. This is cool. We got to do it again. Let me know when you're free, and then we'll record some other episodes too, so we can have ourselves all queued up and ready to go.
Maybe every Wednesday we can do it.
Yeah.
These are good for me.
Okay. Yeah, it sounds good for me, man. But this is a long one, you know. But I guess that's fine.
Usually podcasts are pretty long.
Yeah.
So it's okay. I don't think we should have a time frame necessarily. I think it's just whatever goes. Obviously we would try to keep it short and nice, but sometimes topics kind of just wander off.
Yeah.
Like the stories we talk about, they're coming from a genuine place.
Exactly.
They're coming from real places, and like I try to be as detailed and remember as many specific facts as much as I can. This shit happened like over 10 years ago, and this is like, it's hard to remember these things, but the fact that I still remember them, it's just pretty significant that these things are real to me in my childhood. So it's like, I try to remember the facts so you guys can know and live it with me.
Exactly. Try and visualize what we went through. WWE, WWP, Walk with Pops. Interesting. Wow.
Anyways, guys, thank you guys for tuning in. We're gonna wrap it up here, and fuck y'all.
Yeah, I hate you all. You're all jabronis. That's that's the best insult that I can think of right now. Yeah, we're going on an hour and 36 minutes right now, which is crazy. But again, if you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button, join the Red Planet Army, hit the like button. Wherever you're watching this, whether it's on YouTube, Google, Android, Spotify, TuneIn, Stitcher, I don't care. Share it.
Just tune in.
Exactly. Just listen and share, brother. Subscribe, hit like, give us a rating. Check the description box for all links and everything else. That is pretty much it. We will see you in the next episode. And we are signing off. And we will catch you guys on the flippity flop.
Flippity flop flop. Subscribe, motherfucker.